This morning I woke up and broke my bed. This is the not so nice side of van life. Starting with this manky shoe, it's so disgusting. I actually decided to rip the van apart. What I thought would be an evening job, I think is going to be a 3-day evening job. Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to give you an update on the winter problems in my van episode. You guys have been absolutely amazing and have given me so many tips and suggestions on sorting it, and I can tell you now with a big smile on my face that everything is now sorted. So a little bit of a recap on the problems that I had. One was the bed breaking, which is nothing to do with the winter. It just fell in the same week that I had so many issues happening that I just decided to share it as part of it. But the major one was the mould that I was having in my van. It was far worse than I thought from the footage I was showing you. I ended up pulling the whole van apart, and I will show you that later on, and you can see exactly what the mould situation was really like behind the scenes. And finally, the third one was my battery not holding up, which I did give a bit of an update in that episode, but I'm going to go over it again with you guys and share more on that. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out in the card above. So let's get cracking and let's give you an update. So the bed, let's just brush over that one. It hasn't broken since. I haven't used my bedding correctly, so it's holding on in there. So yeah, really happy with the bed. Let's shift on over to the mould, which I have a lot to say about. So during the episode where I talked to you about the problems, I wasn't really sure where the mould was coming from, or not certain, but after everyone like chipping in a bit and me investigating a little bit further, I'm certain it was the LPG pipes that were creating mould. So it was the contrast in the temperatures from the LPG pipes to the van air, etc. So I'm certain it was there because that's where the majority of it came from, and it spread from there. I also think I could have probably done a little bit better on the ventilation front in the van. So I'll talk to you about what I have done to make sure the fan stays ventilated as well. So the mould problem I actually tried to tackle with like bleach spray and mould spray as suggested by you guys, but it didn't really do anything because the van in the garage section wouldn't dry out. It wasn't warm enough. It just was staying wet, so it was actually making the situation worse. I actually decided to rip the van apart. Today I've decided to tackle it completely. The plan is to carpet those back cavities. So I'm going to foil it first and then carpet it, but to get at it properly, to make sure my vapor barrier is watertight the whole way around, I need to remove all the cladding from my van. What I thought would be an evening job, I think is going to be a 3-day evening job now. I'm currently trying to pull apart the gas because there is a pipe that runs through this little storage unit that I can't pull out until that pipe is out, so wish me luck. If you're following me on Instagram at Nick Romes, you'd have seen that. I ended up pulling out all of the cladding, which meant I had to take apart this wardrobe, the storage underneath, and the bed, the gas setup, and half of the electrics. The only thing that remained was my kitchen unit, and I did that in the winter nights after work. Fortunately, my friend did help me, so thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate all of your support. But yeah, that was a major job. It was pitch black, doing it with head torches on, and on some of the nights it was just tipping it down, so it was a really horrid job to do. If I ever do upgrades on a van, I prefer to do it in the spring summer when the weather's much nicer. It's easier to work on the van that way. So as I pulled the van apart, I found mould on the gas entry inlet, which I showed you in the last episode, and I also found mould across other parts of the van where there was MDF that I hadn't stained or coated or protected in a way. So that was my mistake. Anyway, I've now stripped it all out, pulled out all the old MDF, put in ply instead, and I've made sure I've painted everything or stained everything and protected it to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Also, from your suggestions, I have lagged the LPG pipes, which was a really good tip, as I didn't know to do that, so I'm really happy with that one. Thank you guys, really do appreciate. I do have to say though, and I'm one to always look for the silver lining, was I actually did learn more about my gas setup and my electrics, as I didn't do that in my van. I am aware of what the circuit looks like, but I didn't piece it all together, but now I've got the experience of unpiecing it and piecing it back together, so that's my silver lining with all of the work that was carried out. After 3 solid nights of working on the van, it was all pieced back together and I have a home once again. However, I've taken further measures as well to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Apart from the LPG pipe lagging that I did, I also bought dehumidifier pots, which I've got one in the front and one in the garage section. I wasn't sure if they were working to begin with because all of the little like balls started to freeze over, but after a period of time you could see that it started to collect water. The one in the garage has worked to treat, as you can see, so I definitely recommend these for anyone who's having high levels of moisture in their van. Another measure I have taken is to remove all the coats from the back of the van. This will help with airflow, as you can now get around there, and I've replaced it with a storage organiser that hangs and is much neater. And another thing you may have noticed back here that has changed is the foliage. I have removed it completely because it had bits of mould growing behind it at the bottom and I just got a bit fed up with it. So I've now like vapor barriered and foiled up all of the raw metal back here and replaced it with 4-way stretch carpet. And then other things that I do as well to keep the space ventilated 24/7 is I keep my front windows open at all times by about 1 centimetre. I have wind deflectors on there to act as security, so you're not actually able to see that the window's slightly open, and if you could, you couldn't get at it anyway because it's protected. I've also bought a battery powered fan that's rechargeable, so I pop that on whilst I'm cooking to help blow the air out of the windows, as you may have seen in my last episode, Day in the Life of. If not, check it out in the card above. And then finally, in the summer I always open up the doors, but in the winter it's difficult to open the doors when you're cooking because sometimes it's raining or it's freezing cold, etc. So where possible I open up the side door behind the kitchen because I've got 2 sliding doors. I never used to open that one. I always open the passenger side door. I don't know why. It's very dumb of me that I didn't think of it, but I have now and I do that, so it definitely helps with the airflow and keeping the space's moisture levels down. So in the back there was also a pile of summer shoes that's now in the front under my driver's seat. I managed to clear out some space there. So literally in the back it's pretty empty. It has 2 camping chairs, my yoga mat, my longboard and some alcohol bottles and Peggy the octopus. So it's all a lot more manageable and clear and there's better airflow, etc. So yeah. That is what I've done in terms of tackling the mould in my van. I'm really happy with the outcome, and so far I've not seen an ounce of mould since, and it's been about 3 months, 2 months maybe, going on 3. So yeah, happy and fingers crossed I don't see any mould again. Another topic I wanted to cover whilst we're talking about mould as well is condensation, as I get quite a lot of questions about that. I've only had problems with condensation on my windows. I don't have a problem with it on the raw metal of my van. Why that is, I don't know, but I know a few of you had been asking because you're having that problem. What I do know is the dehumidifier pots that I've put around the van have been working, as they've collected quite a bit of water, so it might be worth investing in one of them. And some people have also suggested like a vac for the windows which sucks up the water. I personally haven't gone for one of them because it's just another gadget to have and another expense just for the winter months. So I literally just have like a microfiber mitten that I clean up all the windows with, and then when I drive I put my heating on, so in the front of the van, so I literally just put the microfiber cloth over the dashboard heater and it dries out within like 5 minutes. So that's my like trampy version of sorting out condensation in your van, and I thought I'd share it with you as it might come in handy for other people who don't have the money to buy one of these vacs or don't have the space to keep one of them either. So let's move on to the battery. In the winter problems in my van vlog, I told you it wasn't really holding its capacity. I thought it may have been the heater. I wasn't really too sure, but I can clarify it wasn't the heater. I did run some tests on the battery myself and it proved that it didn't have the capacity it was supposed to. I can't remember exacts, but I recall it being like 30 amp hours instead of the 120 amp hours it should have been. So I sent it back to the supplier, who was able to also run some tests, and they confirmed that there was a short cell. So there's nothing in my van that my battery couldn't power. It was purely that it had a manufacturing fault in the end. So I did mention that I wanted to upgrade to a lithium ion setup. However, unfortunately, due to cost costs, I've decided against that. And with them having my battery during testing, I needed one whilst they had it, so I didn't want to invest like £600 in lithium ion to then not get my money back for that battery in case it was actually my fault. So I ended up just upgrading a small amount to a Leoc Adventure 120 amp hour AGM battery. So a small upgrade, but really happy with it. To be honest, if there was nothing wrong with the other battery, I think it would have sufficed for now. So yeah, that's the upgrade I did on my battery in the end. And finally, I actually forgot to say this one in the introduction, was my door handle. That was one of the winter problems in my van. I still have no idea what the drilling noise was. I haven't heard it since. I don't believe it was a person. But yeah, my back door handle from the exterior still isn't working because I can be a very lazy person, you know, and to be honest, I can't be asked to undo the handle from the inside and sort it out. As I said, I like to do upgrades in the spring, summer, because it's much nicer than working in the cold where your hands get really numb and it's painful. So that is the end of my update on the winter problems. I just wanted to share it with you because I thought these tips might be helpful for those going to live in a van or living in a van and having the same issues. So before you get mold issues, you already know what things you can do to prevent it and to keep your moisture levels down, so you don't have to go through the same predicament as me. I also wanted to share an update as so many of you have given me so much advice that I've been really grateful for it, so I wanted to let you know that I have taken it all on board. So let's call that a wrap on today's vlog. You know what to do. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe and turn on your notifications, and fingers crossed I'll get to see you guys on the road soon. Ciao.